Howdy folks, welcome back to the channel. You're watching Ratty Muscle Alaska's Dirt Road Derelicts, and today we're talking about a closed knuckle front axle. My apologies first of all for the light saturation coming in from outside. I have to have the door open so I can see what I'm doing. But yeah, we're going to talk about these good old-fashioned closed knuckle axles. This here is a Dana 27 in my 1961 International Scout. If you want to see all the internal workings of one of these axles, I have done a video, and there are other videos out there. But specifically, I'm just going to talk about what gets put into the knuckle. So your old style knuckles, older than this actually, had a style of joint in them that needed grease. And the way this is designed, it still needs grease or oil in it because you have an upper and lower bearing that need to be lubricated. They can't just run dry. When they do, they get completely worn out like this one was when I took it apart. So now I have new bearings in here and I need to put lubricant in this axle. So in my research, I found that originally a 90 weight gear oil is what was recommended to get put in here. And a lot of folks said that even like brand new, that never worked. And I can tell you from experience, if you just put straight oil in these, it does. It just goes right out onto the floor. These axles really do. They just leak like you wouldn't believe. So a lot of folks have suggested you take some gear oil, some 90 weight, and you mix it with some chassis grease. And that works. That's great. But it's a lot of work. So companies have started making closed knuckle axle lubricant. A company called Torque King sells it in grease tubes. It's great. But if you ask me, it's a little spendy. The other thing that a lot of folks really recommend is this stuff, and this is what I'm going to use today. And this is just a John Deere corn head grease. And yeah, don't even get me started. John Deere parts on a corn binder. But the corn head grease is designed to go into the chain cases on the side of a corn head. And what this grease is designed to do is when it's cold, it's really thin, almost like an oil. And then as you start to move it and work it, it thickens up a little bit and turns into more of a grease, which works great in this application. And like I said, just everybody recommends it. So let's go ahead and get these puppies filled up with oil, or grease rather. Alrighty, as you can see, just threw that tube of corn head grease in my grease gun here, and I'm just filling this thing up. This axle should take somewhere around a tube of grease per side. So yeah, like I said, there are a lot of opinions and a lot of thises and a lot of thatses and whatnot. And I don't think there's any one universally agreed upon lubricant for a closed knuckle axle. In my opinion, the corn head grease works great. If you're worried about it, just go ahead and find the branded closed knuckle axle lubricant. That's exactly what they call it, and you won't even have to think about it twice. Or you can go old school and get some gear oil and some chassis grease and stir them up in a pot and find some way to get it in there. So yeah, another thing that I'm going to do while I'm in here is fill my steering box full of this grease too. It's basically the same idea. You got yourself a gearbox, so fill it full of this grease. It won't leak out. I already tried to put oil in this like the manual says it should have, and it all went right out the bottom. And I could spend my time resealing this thing and whatnot, but the grease will work just fine for what I'm going to do with this Scout. I don't want to drive it in the winter time when it's, 30 or 40 below, so the grease isn't really going to slow me down that much. This really should just be a summer driver. So anyhow, hope you guys learned something about these old closed knuckle axles, and I hope I was able to help some folks out with this kind of nonsense. Thanks for watching.